Thanks for existing. Don't come. That was the text my dad sent me on Christmas Eve. I'd been paying for everything, rent, groceries, bills, while sharing the apartment with my sister. And on that night, she told our parents I was just some freeloader. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. But the next morning I found out the locks had already been changed on me. 2 gift-wrapped boxes sat quietly outside. One of them? It was still moving. That text from my dad? No hello, no explanation, just those 6 cold words. Thanks for existing. Don't come. It felt like a final verdict. I sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor, phone in hand, staring at the screen like it might somehow rewrite itself into something more human. But it didn't. The words stayed the same. And they were all together, my mom, my dad, my sister, celebrating Christmas like the perfect family. And me? I was left out again. For over a year and a half, I'd been the one holding it all together. Paying the rent, putting food in the fridge, keeping the lights on. Vanessa, my sister, claimed she lost her job, and while she figured things out, I picked up the slack. Quietly. Without complaint. Because isn't that what family's supposed to do? The night she left for Christmas dinner at her parents' house, she barely said a word. She just tossed her coat over one shoulder, fluffed her curls in the mirror, and turned to me at the door. Oh, if they ask, I told them you're just kind of squatting here. Since you know your name's not on the lease. She didn't say it like it was a joke. She said it like it was the truth. I froze, hands in the dishwater. You told them what? I asked, still staring at the sink. She rolled her eyes. Chill. It's not a big deal. I just didn't want them thinking I'm letting you live here for free. But I'm the one paying the rent, I said quietly, not even looking up. Yeah, well, they don't need to know that. And just like that she walked out. I didn't call her. Didn't text. Didn't try to set the record straight. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table watching the cheap string lights I'd hung weeks earlier blink slowly, wondering how much longer I was going to keep doing this, keep supporting people who had already decided I didn't count. By midnight, I made up my mind. I got up, opened the hallway closet, grabbed my toolkit, and changed the locks. I didn't hesitate. I didn't feel guilty. When I went to bed that night, the apartment felt lighter. Still. Mine. For the first time in a long time. Next morning, around 8:22 a.m., I heard someone trying to unlock the door. A jiggle. A muttered curse. More fumbling. Then knocking. Then pounding. Then nothing. I never opened the door. But I did leave something behind for her. 2 neatly wrapped boxes sat outside on the welcome mat. One was medium-sized, tied with a perfect ribbon. The other was smaller and still moving. It didn't start with big things. It began with groceries. Then the rent. Then her student loan payments she swore she'd pay back soon. And when she got fired again, I didn't ask why. I just stepped in. I picked up extra shifts. Sold my old laptop. Gave up on hobbies, travel, dating, all of it. I kept telling myself this was just temporary. That being a good brother meant helping her stay afloat. But temporary turned into routine. And routine turned into responsibility. And that responsibility? It slowly hardened into silence. Because what do you even say to someone who lets you carry all their weight, then turns around and tells your parents you're the one crashing on the couch? Looking back, I should have seen it coming. Vanessa had always had this way of spinning stories. She knew how to play the victim just enough to make me look like the problem. When we were kids, she could cry her way out of anything. As an adult, she cried her way into people's wallets. Especially our parents. To them, she was artistic and free-spirited. A little scattered, sure, but well-meaning, Mom would say with a soft laugh. Me? I was always too serious. Too harsh. Too cold. But you know what? You start turning cold when love only shows up with strings attached. I stopped going to family dinners months ago, not because I didn't want to see them, but because I couldn't fake it anymore. Every conversation turned into some twisted money plea. You're the stable one. She's sensitive. Why are you always so harsh? I was exhausted. Exhausted from carrying the load. From being the only one acting like an adult. From waking up every morning in an apartment I fully paid for, only to be treated like some kind of unwanted guest. But the moment that broke me came 3 weeks before Christmas. We were sitting in the living room. I just finished a 12-hour shift and picked up takeout on my way home for both of us. I set the bag on the table. Vanessa didn't even glance up from her phone. Can you Venmo me? She asked casually. For my share of the food. I stared at her. You mean the food I just bought with my card? With my money? When you haven't paid a dime in 3 months? She just shrugged. Thumbs still tapping away. Yeah, but that was your choice. I didn't ask. You've been asking me all year. She finally looked up and said, Well, no one forced you. And that's when it finally hit me. She didn't feel bad. Not even a little. She wasn't leaning on me because she had no other choice. She did it because I let her. A week later, I saw a credit card bill come in. Not mine, at least not at first glance. It should have been hers. But it was under my name, my social security number, my email. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the balance. $7, 334.81. Sephora, Apple, Zara, a spa resort, a tattoo deposit. I called the credit company. They confirmed it. She had opened the card using my information. She had stolen my identity. But I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I went quiet. I started collecting proof. Screenshots. Statements. I watched her strut around the apartment in her brand new boots. Apple Watch on her wrist. Laughing with her friends on FaceTime. Talking about her idiot brother. Even though I was right there, I planned to wait until New Year's to confront her. Maybe even later. I wanted it to build. I wanted her to feel it. But then came Christmas. And that text from my dad. Thanks for existing. Don't come. And that same night, Vanessa, swirling her wine, smiled at me and said, "You can't really expect them to treat you like family when you act like a tenant. You don't belong." So I changed the locks. I left her the Christmas gifts I'd already bought, because I'm not heartless. But I added one more package. The second box. Inside, a copy of the credit card bill. Her name written in red across the top. And a flash drive, with audio clips, recordings of her bragging to her friends. In one, she laughed and said, "Honestly, he deserves it. He's like a bank with no overdraft fees. Why wouldn't she take advantage of me?" Of course she would. That box I left her, it was shaking slightly, thanks to my old phone tucked inside, set on vibrate with a looping alarm. I wanted her to feel what I'd been living with all year. Uncertainty, tension, that low-level panic that never really lets go. I was in the kitchen, lazily microwaving leftovers, when the pounding started. Not polite knocking. No. This was full-on door rattling, like someone wanted to bust it down. And strangely, I didn't flinch. What caught me off guard was how calm I was. I walked to the door and opened it slowly. There she stood, Vanessa. Hair a mess, makeup smeared, fury practically dripping from her face. "What is this?" she shrieked, holding the silver gift box like it might explode. I tilted my head. "A Christmas gift. It's vibrating." "I know," I said, unfazed. "Did you open it?" She started to respond, then clamped her mouth shut. "You should," I added, stepping aside. "Come on in. Since, you don't have keys anymore." She stormed past me, slamming the box down on the coffee table. The ribbon was already halfway undone. She yanked off the lid and stared inside. Total silence. Neatly arranged were a stack of printed screenshots from her texts, where she called me a freeloader and a walking paycheck. A flash drive labeled, "For Dad, play this if you've got a spine." And a single folded sticky note with just one line. "Your lease is up, emotionally and otherwise." She whipped around, eyes blazing. "You're heartless." "No," I said, calm as ever. "I'm just done." Right then, my phone lit up. Incoming call from Dad. I answered on speaker. "Son," he barked. "What is going on? Your sister showed us what you left her. That was cruel. What happened to family?" I let out a bitter little laugh. "You mean the same family that told me not to show up for Christmas?" "That wasn't about you," he snapped. "You've been distant, cold. You isolate yourself. You literally told me not to come." I cut in. And guess what? I listened. Vanessa snatched the phone out of my hand. "Dad, he's completely unhinged. He changed the locks. He's stalking me. He planted." "Oh, stop," I said, grabbing the phone back. "Why don't you tell him what's actually inside that box?" Silence. "Dad," I continued, keeping my voice steady. "Do you know who's been using my name to open credit cards? Do you know who racked up $7,334.81 in debt under my identity?" More silence. Then, finally, Dad asked, Is that true? No, Vanessa shouted. He's lying. He's making this up for attention. Then why? I said. Does Meridian Bank have an account with her email tied to my social security number? Why are there receipts from her favorite stores? Zara, Sephora, Apple, all in my name. No response. And you know the best part? I added, walking to the shelf and pulling down a small black Bluetooth speaker. This. I hit play. Her voice filled the room crystal clear. He's so easy to manipulate. He always feels guilty. I could burn the apartment down and he'd still cover my phone bill. Her face turned pale. That's out of context, she mumbled. Oh really? I raised a brow. What's the proper context for he deserves to suffer? Dad didn't say a word. Neither did she. The whole world felt still. Then a soft knock broke the silence. I opened the door to find my mom standing there, behind her, Jordan, Vanessa's ex. What the hell, Vanessa started. I need to talk to both of you, Jordan said. His voice was tight, but not from fear, from pure, boiling anger. I just found out, he said, locking eyes with me, someone used my name to order 2 iPhones last month. Booked a hotel in my name too. They called me today to collect. He turned to her. Was it you? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. Aya, why would I do that? His eyes fell to the table. The box. The flash drive. The screenshots. The still glowing speaker. I think you should leave, he said quietly. What? She snapped. I'm staying here, Jordan said, stepping past her. My jaw tightened. Here. He looked at me. If you let me crash for a few days. I think we both got played by the same person. And maybe it's time we stopped letting her run the game. Vanessa blinked like she'd just been slapped. You're siding with him? I'm done siding with liars. She stood there frozen. No tears. No fake drama. No clever lies ready to go. Just silence. Don't worry, I said, tossing her coat from the chair. Your stuff's in the hallway. Right next to the trash. Feel free to guess which is which. She left. No tantrums. No sobbing. No more manipulation. Just the sound of her footsteps fading down the hallway and the elevator doors closing. The next morning, the quiet in my apartment didn't feel empty. It felt earned. I stood in the kitchen holding a mug of lukewarm coffee, watching the steam curl up into the air like smoke from a fire that had finally burned out. I expected to feel something, regret, guilt, maybe even sadness. But there was none of that. No ache. No second thoughts. Just a calm, steady kind of peace. Jordan was still asleep on the couch, snoring softly under the old throw blanket I'd given him the night before. He hadn't said much after Vanessa left. Just nodded, muttered finally, and passed out. When he finally stirred, he saw my laptop open and gave me a curious look. You're working already? I'm getting my money back. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. What, like filing charges? More than that. I turned the screen toward him. This is official now. Step 1, the claim. I'd already started organizing the paperwork the night Vanessa left. I had folders, actual folders, full of evidence. Screenshots of charges, IP logins, account statements, even timestamps for every transaction made using my info. I submitted an identity theft report with the police and opened fraud cases with each credit card company. Meridian Bank was the first to respond. They flagged the account, launched an investigation, and by Friday I got the email. You've been approved for full reimbursement. Just like that $7,334.81 restored to my account. I leaned back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't even realize I'd been holding. But I wasn't finished. Step 2, the math. I opened a spreadsheet and started calculating. 18 months of covering for 2 people. Rent, $750 a month. Utilities? Roughly $170. Groceries? Around $300. Her emergencies? Anywhere from $100 to $500, sometimes more. I kept scrolling. And scrolling. By the time I reached the bottom, my stomach sank. $19,921. Not counting the emotional toll. Not counting the skipped meals or the double shifts I took to stay afloat. I saved the spreadsheet. Transferred everything to a flash drive. And then? Step 3, the lawyer. This isn't just about identity theft, I told him. She lived off me for over a year. And my parents stood by and let her. He looked like a man who never lost, expensive shoes, confident smirk, like the verdict was already in his favor. Do you have proof? He asked. I slid the flash drive across his desk. He plugged it in, clicked a few times, and started scrolling. His eyes widened. You documented all of this? Every dollar, I said. And your parents? They added my name to utility accounts without telling me. I found the paperwork. He let out a low whistle. This isn't just identity theft. This is sustained financial abuse. So, do we have a case? Oh, he said, leaning back with a grin, we have a very public one. Step 4, the explosion. 3 weeks later, on a gray, rainy Wednesday, 3 certified letters were delivered to my parents' house. One addressed to Vanessa. One to Mom. One to Dad. All sealed with the crest of Dawson and Finch, attorneys at law. Within 20 minutes, my phone rang. Caller ID lit up. MOM. I picked up. What the hell are you doing? She snapped. Good morning to you, too. You're suing us? After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done to me, I corrected. Let's not pretend. We're your family. You also co-signed utility bills in my name and added me to another one behind my back. That's fraud. It was just paperwork. It was theft. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You told me not to come to Christmas, I reminded her. Silence. Then her voice dropped quieter. We raised you. We let you stay here when you needed it. I paid for everything. I wasn't crashing with you, I was supporting the household. Big difference. Step 5, the ally. 3 days later, I got a call I didn't expect. Ruth. I hadn't heard from her in months. Not since Vanessa told me she's tired of your drama. Stop calling. But now her voice was firm. I saw the lawsuit, she said. And I saw the bank statement. My stomach dropped. You saw the bond? She sighed. Your father cashed out over $7,500 from a savings bond in your name. He used it to pay off Vanessa's old car. I had to sit down. I didn't even know I had a bond. Well, she said, you don't anymore. I froze what's left and moved it. The account's back in your name where it should have stayed. I was stunned into silence. And, she added, I've rewritten my will. The house? It's yours when the time comes. I trust you'll do the right thing with it. Ruth, why? Because, she said gently, you're the only one who never asked for anything. And the only one who kept receipts. The courtroom. Vanessa showed up dressed in beige, trying to look fragile and sympathetic. Mom wore all black. Dad couldn't look me in the eye. My lawyer laid it all out. Screenshots, voice recordings, financial statements, misuse of power of attorney, forged documents, even the savings bond withdrawal. Vanessa tried crying. Mom claimed early onset confusion. Dad just looked exhausted. But the judge? She wasn't having any of it. Did you list your son's name on financial documents without his knowledge? She asked my mother. It was family, she muttered. Ma'am. Yes or no? Long pause. Yes, she finally whispered. The ruling came fast. $14,000 in restitution. All fraudulent debts cleared. Court costs covered. And a formal warning placed on their records. The post-credit scene. 2 weeks later, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. I knew the handwriting instantly. Vanessa. You happy now? You made your point. Inside was a photo. A picture of us as kids. Sitting beneath a Christmas tree. She was clinging to me like I was the only thing keeping her steady. I stared at it for a minute. Then flipped it over and wrote one line. You let go first. And I tossed it in the fireplace. It's strange how silence feels when it's finally yours. 3 months after the court ruling, I still hadn't heard a single word from my parents. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a birthday card. And honestly? Good. No more defending myself. No more proving I wasn't some selfish disappointment. No more lectures about how hard Vanessa has it or reminders that you're the stable one, we need you. Now, my life was mine. I stayed in the same apartment. But for the first time, it actually felt like my place. I could open the fridge and know everything inside was mine, not for someone who'd called me a squatter behind my back. The air wasn't heavy anymore. The Wi-Fi didn't randomly cut out. The sink stayed unclogged. No one left guilt-laced notes about food they didn't help buy. Same walls. Same furniture. Same view. But the silence? That was something new. The peace? Quiet, strong, unfamiliar. The cost? Sometimes people ask me, wasn't it hard to cut off your whole family? Wasn't that cruel? And every time I tell them the same thing. It wasn't cruel. It was necessary. I spent years shrinking myself just to make them feel comfortable. Smiling through jabs. Handing over money instead of setting boundaries. Letting them call me selfish when I wouldn't give them everything even though they gave me nothing but guilt. The cruel part wasn't cutting them off. The real cruelty was how long I let it all go on. When I finally stopped being the obedient son and the generous brother, I realized something: they didn't miss me. They missed the benefits of me. The message. One afternoon in May, I got an email from someone I didn't recognize. Subject line: your sister isn't doing well. It was from a woman named Brielle, apparently one of Vanessa's old friends. The message was short, blunt. She's couch surfing. Lost her job again. Says you ruined her life. Thought you should know. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit delete. Not out of spite. Not because I didn't care. But because caring doesn't mean going back. The last encounter. I bumped into my dad at a gas station. Total accident. We locked eyes across the pumps. He looked older. Smaller. Like someone who had finally run out of excuses. He approached slowly, cautiously. No anger this time, just shame. You look good, he said. I nodded. He looked down at his shoes. Your mother's still upset. She says you ruined Christmas. I raised an eyebrow. That's funny. She kicked it off with don't come. I just followed instructions. He sighed. Families fight, son. No, I said. Families fight for each other. You fought for Vanessa. You never fought for me. He didn't have a comeback. He just stood there, waiting hoping for a lifeline. But I didn't throw him one. I got in my car. Drove off. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back. This wasn't revenge. It was freedom. Let me be clear, this wasn't about payback. This wasn't about hurting anyone. It was about finally choosing me. This was never about proving I was right, though, for the record, I was. It was about release. Letting go of a life where love always came with conditions. Letting go of guilt that was never mine to carry in the first place. Letting go of the version of me that used to beg to be noticed, to matter, to be treated like I belonged. I didn't set out to tear my family apart. I just stopped tearing myself down in order to hold them together. People like Vanessa, they thrive by draining others. They take, they blame, they twist the truth, and they keep going because someone's always there to soften their landing. I stopped being her cushion. And the entire setup crumbled. Not because I broke anything, but because I finally chose to leave. And in that choice, in that quiet, grounded moment of walking away, I felt something I hadn't in years. Alive. Truly, deeply alive. The unexpected closure. About 2 weeks ago, a small package showed up at my door. No name. No return address. Inside was a plain envelope. And tucked inside that, just one photograph. It was me and Lila, Vanessa's daughter from years ago. She must have been around 4 in the picture. Sitting on my shoulders, cheeks round with laughter, her little hands gripping my face like I was her whole world. I turned the photo over. On the back, in shaky handwriting that didn't look quite grown yet, were the words. I'm sorry for how my mom treated you. Thank you for everything. Lila. I stared at that note until my eyes stung and the letters started to blur. I don't know how she found my address. Maybe Ruth gave it to her. Maybe it was luck. Or something bigger. But that one note? That made every painful step, every ounce of grief, every moment of doubt, worth it. Now, I keep that photo in my desk drawer. Not because it drags me back to the past, but because it reminds me. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving the people who hurt you. It just means you finally learn to love yourself more. And that's not revenge. That's what freedom really looks like.